Alright, we're going to work on Vegeta now. Now, looking at the artwork, like I said, I don't really know much about this Dragon Ball stuff, so I'm kind of just seeing what the original artwork kind of was like colored. So we're going to use a P3 formula, Ryan Flesh, just as a base coat. I mean, I did my Garage Kit's base coat first because I needed to find some errors. Like I said, there was a little bit of issues around here I kind of had to clean up. So we're going to do this as a base coat, but I'll still mix in some other colors here and there, and then sort of kind of go. Because looking at the thing, he's got a little bit more like I guess rosy color to him, a little bit more like of the bright flesh color, whereas Android 18 is kind of more pale, more virgin pale looking, which I kind of went for. So this one should just kind of make him pop a little bit different, but I'll still be using the other colors as well. So one of the things to do is I have this bottle here is mixed up with some water and basically a little bit of alcohol, 71%. Not a lot of alcohol, but a little bit, just to kind of give it a little bit more whatever. So what we'll do is we'll put some of this in here, if it comes out. It's a little bit thicker. Alright, so we got Vegeta all set up. Now, I did use Garage Kit's Flesh Tone just to sort of get a basic look going, making sure I'm not missing anything. I'm not really too worried about the arms if the Flesh Tone is perfect, because they're going to add a little bit of blood and bruising to it. So this is a Formula P3 Ryan Flesh. I kind of mixed this up with a little bit of my bottle of water and 73% alcohol. Not really much alcohol, maybe like 10% in the bottle, just to kind of help keep the water clean and stuff. So basically this, we're going to give him a little bit more of a rosier color, because right now the Garage Kit Flesh Tone is kind of more of pale virgin look. So we just want to make him look a little bit different. So now it's good to still have the color, like once you start seeing it drying, it's in the beginning it kind of looks bright, but it's got a little bit more reddish to it. So we'll mix our raw sienna. And like before, just kind of hitting it with color, getting around the areas. A little too watery, but that's okay. Sometimes mistakes can make things even better. As you can see, that little watery area, too much there. Like I said, this is going to be beaten up version, so can't hurt it. Now we'll hit it with some of that transparency flesh into this bottle. Kind of get that going. And since he's a little bit beat up, we'll put some of the bright flesh in here. Get a little bit more of a... Pour all that out. Now we have some P3 formula flesh wash. This stuff is really cool. It's very potent though. It could really go too much on you. It's a really cool color. I'm just kind of hitting it in different areas. The goal is to kind of darken them up a little bit, beating them up, trying to look at that artwork a little bit more. Don't have to really worry too much about the arms because they are just little spots. Yeah, so he's going to definitely get dirty though. Keep on looking over at the picture to the side on my computer screen. So he definitely is going to get like some really darker. See, like that little mess up right there with that bleeding stuff can kind of work to my advantage. Because that's kind of where we're going to bruise them up. So I'm looking at that artwork. And then spraying far away kind of adds a little bit of texture to them too, so that can kind of probably help with when I dirty them up. So we're going to go back to the original color. Got to kind of thin this down a bit. Alright, so that's a good starting point for him. So what we'll do is we're going to go onto the other desk, we'll set up the camera, and then what I could do is start maybe doing some washes, or I can do, whatchamacallit, some pastel work, and we're going to really kind of beat him up a little bit now. Kind of help me do it now, then worry about it later. Alright, so what I gotta do is I gotta force some of this like wrinkles, because I'm looking at the original artwork and I'm not sure if the 3D render somebody actually had that sculpted, or in the 3D render they sort of, I don't know, mess with it. So I know his eyes are closed, so I'm trying to keep the eyes closed, trying not to, you know, it's kind of a little bit difficult. It's a little bit weird on how the artwork looks good, but the way they're here, it's almost like the eyes are open, but they're not. So I just got to keep fudging it. So we're going to try to do some basic pastel work on it now. This might be one of those things where I kind of go back and forth. So let's see. Alright, so we're going to use some of the darker stuff here. Alright, and we'll kind of follow this area a little bit. Might have to use some of the really darker area. Yeah, so we're gonna have to kind of play with it a bit. So it's kind of like fudging the color a bit. There's no choice in the matter. I sort of have to do it. So we'll just kind of keep grabbing some colors. So here, to Andriod. Trying to kind of look at some of this square. Like I said, this part over here kind of, this stuff kind of helps. Let me go get some more of tools. So it's good to have a bunch of makeup tools. Just go on eBay, grab a bunch. Works wonders. Not worried that I'm getting onto the black paint eyebrow. I'll kind of tone that down a bit. This stuff, and let's see, some of his cheek was a little bit messed up. So soon we'll start hitting these blues and purples. Looks like he's a little bit bruised up over here. Got a little bit of a... Now, the cool thing about, you know, when the character's beat up, you really don't have to do much. You know, just kind of hit all different kind of areas. Like I said, this eye close is sort of tricky. Trying to. Yeah, it's getting there. Just a matter of kind of fudging it a bit. They have like a brown at the bottom and black up top. Maybe that was my problem. Just a little bit of I think that worked better. Yeah, I think that was the problem. I should have did the black at the bottom, but you know, on a computer, things always look better. Like I said, I'll redo the eyebrows once it's sealed up. Alright, let's grab some more paint and we'll start adding some bruises and stuff. So this is P3 formula, red ink and blue ink. It's kind of like a very potent watery color. It's pretty good for kind of adding some stuff together without going too crazy. So just gonna kind of look at this artwork. So he's got a little bit of a beat up little area around here, a little blood coming down. Just dab it a bit, pick color, dab it. Blue will help kind of bruise it up a bit too, so you kind of blue in there a little bit. And like I said, it's very, it's watery, so it will seep into stuff. I mean, I don't have to be perfect with the, you know, what they did on the original thing. I'm just kind of doing my own little take on it. And over here, we'll kind of pour some red on this one. Yeah, that's kind of. Everyone knows why not. Alright, yeah, so we're getting there. Just a matter of playing with it, adding colors, messing around. Alright, what I think I need to do is add a little bit more. This one. Now looking at the picture, they did sort of popped out the ears just a little bit. So it's just good to kind of get some other areas, dirty them up. Popping out some of the highlights. So looking kind of beat up. Kind of playing with some areas, kind of. There we go. Making stuff pop out a little bit. Pretty happy with where he's at. So we do the same thing as I did before. I'm gonna gloss him up, seal him, and then what I'll do is I'll flatten again, and then we'll kind of walk away for the night, and I'll come back tomorrow, get a look at it. Maybe I'll add some more stuff, maybe I don't like stuff. We'll see how things go, but as of right now I think it's good as where I'm at. I want to finish up the whole entire item, and then I might go back in and add some more roughness, dirtiness, or shading, or wherever. It all depends on how things evolve. But it's good to, you know, at least get a good starting point. So let's kick on the boots, make sure we're going, seal them up pretty well. Alright, and I'm not worried about the arms. We have the base color on the arms, so once we start adding the main color onto the arms of the outfit, then I could go in and dirty that stuff and then probably go back to here as well. But I think we're at a good point. So I'll have this dulled down, and then hopefully tomorrow we'll come back, see where we're at, and go from there. Okay, so we're going to start working on Vegeta now, and then once he's done, we could pretty much do the base, and it's pretty much ready to go. Vegeta's hair has to still be done. We'll go over that later. But for right now, I was working on some Cyclops kits, and I had a lot of blue paint mixed up and everything, so I went ahead and did the blue on this Vegeta as well. So I did have a bottle left of Caldor Sky Citadel paint. I love this blue a lot. It's really great. So I kind of just watered it down a bit, and I did all the blue and I let it dry. So now we're going to start shading it up. Now, there's a few ways of doing blue shading that I've done. You can use a darker blue. You can use a purplish blue. It all depends on how you want to do it. You want to stay away from black, though. I know black is kind of the easier way just to darken up a color, but you want to try to use some different colors in that. So I have Badger blue here. And this is a very watery paint. It's almost like an ink, but it's paint. Now I use this blue to thin down color. So like say I wanted a darker blue, but I didn't want to go too dark. I could use the Caldor Sky out of the bottle and thin it down with a couple drops of this. Give it a little bit of a darker hue, but it also will thin down the paint. So this is good paint. Badger paints, these air opaque paints are really good for like thinning down a color. They have the color in them, whether it's like crimson, magenta, blue, or whatever, and you can use it to thin down another color without going to water or a thinner, which is kind of cool. So for blues, whenever I want to darken up a blue, I use actually raw umber with this Badger here. This will give me a darker blue, and it's actually not a pure black. It will look black, but the raw umber is more of a brown, and this blue, it gives you that look of a darker shade of blue without going crazy of just pure black out of the bottle. So depending on if the kit calls for black paint or for an area, outfit, or skin or whatever, that's different. But for a majority of the time, I try to stay away from black paint when mixing a darker color. Try to use like raw umber. You can use blues, you can use purples, stuff like that, just to try to not go too crazy with the black, like I said, unless the character calls for it. Like when I do my Captain Marvel Genis Veils, he's got the dark black areas, so it shows more of the star field. So that's a different, like, you know, opportunity to use black, whereas this will use that. So what I'll do is I'll put a couple drops in a cup of Badger airbrush in my cup. I will use the raw umber, kind of do some shading, and then go from there. Sometimes what I like to do is do my basic blue first, then do just air opaque first, just because this is a darker blue, and then mix up this with this to get those deeper areas. But the good thing about what's going on right now is he's all beat up, so any kind of mess ups, any kind of overspray, any kind of like splattering of paint is going to help make it like you can utilize that for being him dirty and beat up. So my airbrush is actually very clogged up at the moment. I really need to sit down and clean it up because I've been painting like crazy this week. So if I get any kind of overspray or any kind of like splattering effect, I'll just leave it because that'll kind of maybe help with the whole being dirtied up and stuff. So we got a lot more to go, but at least for shading it'll give you an idea. So I think what I'm going to do is first we'll do just a bit of shading with this air opaque, and then after that we'll go into the raw umber mix with that to deepen it up. And then from there what I'll do is I'll water down the Caldor Sky again and sort of mist it to kind of blend it all together. Okay, so I went ahead and mixed up the raw umber in with the blue. It actually looks black. Like if you spray it, it almost looks black there, but it's actually a really darker blue. So it's kind of a good color if you really want to darken up a blue without going too crazy. Like I said, far away, it sort of still looks blackish, but the raw umber really kind of helps it. Like I said, I'm sort of overspraying a little bit because, like I said, my airbrush is sort of clogged, so that's not a big deal. I'll kind of help it. Now the other thing too is keep in mind where your arm goes. So the arm goes that way, so light's going to be hitting it this way. So you want to make sure you hit some, areas underneath and everything. That's kind of like how I like to paint. And, usually I don't have stuff like behind my item I'm spraying. But like I said, this is going to get dirty, so any kind of overspray, not the end of the world. the legs are kind of like this, so darker under there. Got some overspray here, kind of wiped it off with my finger, but it's a little bit of a mark. It's not a big deal. So something like this, you could kind of just not, you know, really don't overthink it. Sometimes these mistakes will kind of work to your benefit for this. Alright, so let me clean out my brush, and then what we'll do is a little bit of a misting of the lighter blue, so hopefully bring it together a little bit, and then go from there. Alright, so to kind of help myself with this, figure let's put in the arms, and then got some watery color of the main base color, and let's just kind of spray down. Just kind of helping get the light, popping out some of the muscles. It's very like a transparency blue, just to sort of kind of blend it. And then it's this foot. Alright, I gotta mix up a little bit more, but we'll come back after I already do that part, and we'll see how this looks. Okay, so I did a little bit of like sort of a darkish raw umber trim there. I masked it, so I'm going to do this gold stuff here, and then I'm going to do the white over it. Now, there's sort of an issue. Looking at the control art that I have, like the original sculpt, this is all sculpted different. For some odd reason, this final sculpt is different compared to what's on that picture. So I'm not really sure what's going on. So I also did a lot of research online looking at Vegeta artwork, and from what I can tell, this is more of a padding than a metal, but the way they have it painted on the controller and the way this is sculpted there, this looks like actually like armor. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the pale gold that I used on Android 18's belt buckle. I'll do the pale gold here, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do sort of like a yellowish paint with a little hint of pearl on there to make this look like padding. So this way we can break up these two instead of having all the same color. So this will be sort of like yellow padding or raw umber padding. The same thing with back here, but these straps here would look like metal, like it's holding up with metal, just to kind of do something a little bit different. Alright, so this is kind of like an off yellow. So I mixed up some raw sienna and some yellow. So we'll just get kind of a base color going on there for now. And I got a little spot over here. Yeah, it's kind of like a sort of color like that almost. It's kind of hard to tell from different artworks. Some artworks are bright, some artworks are like a brownish. I'm going to let that dry up a bit, and then I think what I do is I mist on a little bit of yellow just to brighten it up a bit. Okay, so this is Garage Kit's bright yellow. So I'm just going to throw a little bit more of a yellow pop to it. Nothing too crazy. I think that should be good enough. It's got sort of a little bit more of a yellowness to it, but it's still got some of that raw sienna. But I'm going to be dirtying this up anyway, so it should come together a little bit better than that. Alright, so in this cup I mixed up some more raw sienna, some yellow, some pearlized gold, and basically maybe this will kind of give it a little bit more of a pop. Yeah, it's kind of a little bit better. It's a little bit of that yellowish, but it's got some of that raw sienna look to it. And maybe it looks like a little bit more of a padding, I guess. Yeah, that kind of works a little bit better. It's probably hard to see it in the camera. So I'll let that dry for a bit, and then what's going to happen is either I'm going to do the white and then I'll shade everything up and I'll make it all look dirty. After I do the white, the gloves and all that, I'll dirty everything up. Or I might dirty that up right away and then do the white. Got to figure that out. Basically when they come back from going out to the hobby store to pick up some paint, I'll have a better idea what I'm going to do. Alright, so I got all my pieces of the hands, the feet, and the chest plate painted out with basically like a grayish, bluish shade. So in this cup right here, I just mixed up a bunch of colors. You got a couple drops of raw sienna, burnt sienna, a little drop of blue, a little drop of purple, a couple drops of this here, and just put some water in there. So it's kind of like a really darkish, kind of grayish color, because I didn't want to just put like pure black shading on all this stuff. So I'm going to shade up a lot of this stuff, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a water misting of white on down on it. So I kind of want to create some shadows and stuff, kind of force out some of the colors, but we're going to go back in later with like a lot of pastel work, which is women's makeup, and we're really going to dirty it all up and make them look beat up. But for right now, I'm just trying to get that basic colors and shades and everything on it first. Alright, so I have all my basic elements pretty much painted up. So before I try to bring out detail, dirty it up, add a lot of like the women's makeup pastel stuff, I want to actually get the base pretty much ready to go. So trying to do the base now and dry brush, and I might do too much dry brushing and hit this piece, and then this will cause more issues. So what I did is I sprayed a lot of burnt umber on all the darker areas underneath and stuff, just to kind of get those areas darker, because I probably won't be able to do a lot of dry brushing there. I'll probably do some washes and stuff to try to get paint into those crevices, but I want this to be a lighter you know, rock. I don't want this to be like dark. I don't want it to be gray. I want to kind of keep it brownish, but lighter. So what I did is I just kind of did some overspray around here and underneath there. I kind of sealed this up with some Tester's dull coat, and I'm letting it dry. I'm going to go grab lunch. I'm going to come back. I'm going to mask this off, and then I'm going to do all the base. I'm going to get all this rock all dry brushed. I'm going to get a lot of detail, add a lot of color, and kind of just get the base ready to go. So once we have our base color here, base colors here, base colors on the arms and legs and all that stuff, then I can start going in and doing all the detail. It's kind of like if you're painting on like a canvas or oil or acrylic. A lot of stuff that I learned in art school is pretty much lay down a basic color and then start doing some like coloring over it. Like imagine you do a drawing of like say a Wolverine, and instead of just like adding like harsh color onto it, you do a light like wash of color for like the blues, the yellows and stuff, and then you can start going in with acrylic paints and start kind of coloring it up. That's kind of like what I'm doing with this item. So we're getting our basic colors down, and then from there we'll start adding in like dirts, washes, dry brushing, and try to just dirty up the whole thing. And then I can also probably put Andriod 18 onto the base, and I can add some dry brushing and colors to here for like the dirty part of her boots, maybe her hands, and just sort of kind of work everything together. So we'll let this kind of cure up a little bit more. We'll come back, I'll have it all masked off, and we'll just go to town on the base. Okay, so everything's pretty much set, ready to go. So over here in my container, what I did is I got some browns, some raw sienna, some white, a little bit of the gray from the base color of the outfit, and just an old paintbrush. Now the reason why I'm using one of these bigger ones is I don't want to sit here for like 5 hours and go like this. With this one, we'll use this one down the line if we need to, but for right now, I just want to get a base color on there. I'm looking at the control artwork from the beginning. They did put a little bit of green moss stuff on the base, so we might add some of that at the end. But for right now, I want to try to get that color. So it's kind of like a beige off-white, like beigey brown sort of color. I don't mind if any of the original primer shows through. That'll add just the color for it and help it out. So it's just a matter of sitting there, adding another base color onto this, and then from there I can add more stuff, whether I need to do any washes and like maybe let some paint kind of go in between the crevices, fall down, go places, and just keep adding color and just keep going crazy. It's just, don't overthink it, you know, just kind of run with it, have fun. It's a rocky base. It doesn't need to be like, you know, 100% perfect like the original art. You don't need to, you just kind of add colors and have fun with it. So we're definitely going with the brownish tan look. I like that color better than trying to do it rocky with grays and blues and stuff. So we'll see how this turns out. So we got the basic color down, and from here it's all about adding more highlights with dry brushing, maybe some washes, going with the airbrush. So it's just a matter of going back and forth till you get it to where you want it. I have this color which is kind of like a grayish green that I mixed up for something a while back. So what I'm going to do, instead of just doing pure white, kind of mixing some of this stuff in with the browns. See how this kind of color looks a little bit. I don't know, it's just an experiment. If it doesn't work right or I don't like it, I can change it. Throw some of this brown in there. I think what I might do is add a little bit of a, let's see. It's just experimenting, trying to find some colors, get some of these pinks out of here. So this is a green. Let's throw this green color in here a bit. And I have a paper towel here, so I kind of take some of this color off a bit. And then I can kind of go in here. It's kind of adding like a shade of green in there. That'll kind of get taken down again. You know, if we add a little bit more of this white stuff over here. Kind of rocks and dirt and stuff like this, depending on what you're going for. I don't know, I just kind of just adding colors, just seeing where we'll go. Sometimes adding a little extra colors here and there, make it pop a little bit more. But definitely going back in with the airbrush and toning some of it down, adding some washes, stuff like that will kind of come together a bit more. I mean, we don't want it to be green, but adding this little bit of green kind of help it a little bit. And then we're going with some of the white, pulling up a little bit more highlights. See, like the thing is, you know, looking at that control art, definitely somebody must have did some more 3D coloring that's not on the sculpt. So we don't have some of that detail. So you got to kind of try to fudge it a little bit. Alright, so I'm going to keep doing this a little bit more, kind of going over trying to pull up some highlights, and then we'll head over to the airbrush booth and we'll do some airbrushing on these. Okay, so we want to add some color to it. So I have this bottle of sepia from Garage Kits, but what I did is I put a couple drops of rich brown in there because I have this transparent leather tan which I love using for rocks and everything, but the problem is I only have a little bit of this and they're on a backlog and I need this for another project, so I figure we'll try something else. I did a little bit of a test and I kind of like where the color's going. So I really needed a transparency though, so this sepia is sort of like transparency. So we'll kick this on and sort of color up the rock. So we're getting like a brownish rock, orangey rock in there, sort of like the control art. And just kind of spraying it all around. Now the good thing and bad thing about using these Liquitex paints out of the bottle, they're a little bit thicker, they're a little bit more durable when you put it on heavier, but they take a little bit longer to dry in a sense that you can still mask on them, you can spray them down, but if you spray too much Tester's dull coat on them and you make it really soft, it takes a lot longer to kind of cure. But like once this stuff really cures, it's a little bit better. So you can see we're kind of grabbing a little bit more of an orangey look to it, sort of like the artwork. Alright, so if we have any other colors in our hands, which I think I'm looking for Payne's Gray. That's a really good color too. It's kind of like a bluish, darker, blackish transparency. So transparency Payne Gray could kind of help tone it down a little bit. Especially in the areas where the legs are going to go. We have an ocean blue transparency. So like a lot of the Garage Kit transparencies I like. They're really good to kind of add some colors onto your item. So go back to the Payne's Gray. Darken up some areas. And then we'll go back to that original sepia. Alright, so I'm going to hit this with some Tester's dull coat, see if this kind of blends it all together. Alright, let that dry a little bit, and then we go back to doing some more dry brush and try to pop out some more highlights. Go back to the sepia and just keep going and going and going, and then hopefully we'll get a nice kind of rock and where I want it to be. Alright, so this should be the final coat. We're going back to that sepia, just kind of hitting those highlighted areas a little bit more. Maybe what we'll do is we'll kind of hit in the shadow stuff too. Yeah, the shadow stuff is helping kind of get into those areas a little bit more. A little bit overspray. I'm going to go with some of that Payne's Gray, sort of darken up the bottom. And we're going to fine tune a little bit, kind of going with some areas. Back to the sepia, mixed in with the Payne's Gray. Alright, I think that's kind of where I want it to be. Looking at the boots that are on the Android, that's on the Sharp boots are a lot darker, so those should be pop out a little bit more. So next, I'm going to try to figure out how to do some of that green, moss, and grass areas like it's on the picture. Alright, and now we're back to doing more dry brushing with this original color. Now my paintbrush is sort of kind of drying up. Some of these colors are sort of drying up, but that's okay. Kind of try to get this going. I think maybe we'll do just like one more highlight session, you know, kind of bring out some more areas and maybe hit it with the sepia again. I'm not really sure yet. And try to go for like the key stuff that you would see at the very edge. I'm not trying to go too crazy with it. That's the kind of key thing I try to stay away from, is not doing pure white. If you do pure white, you want to kind of tone it back down with the transparency. Unless you're going for like that marble where it's got like bright white, but even then, you might kind of want to go more of an off-white. If I had a couple bottles of that leather transparency from Garage Kits, I probably would do a lot more washing, like once this cures up. But then again, that's a possibility, but I don't think they're getting that paint anytime soon. So we're just kind of doing a different take on it. Just kind of going a different route. And if you do accidentally put a little too much white into your paint when you mix it, it's not the end of the world. Some of that transparency color can help tone it down. So like, you know, by trying to do it this way, if you have this open and you're getting all that extra overspray and stuff on there, you can make a mess. So like I said, it's sometimes good to mask off the area before you start trying to dirty it up. And we have a lot of spots down here where you see the original primer and you see some of the browns I did. And that kind of just helps just break it up a little bit more, adds a different color. Alright, so I think trying to just go over it. I'm going to go over it one more time, going to hit a couple other spots, and then we'll go back to the airbrush booth. So it's just back and forth, back and forth. Alright, we're going to add some green. So they did add a little bit of grass in certain areas, whether it was moss or whatever. So I have this green mixing in with this little brown stuff. This is an old paintbrush. So it's just a matter of, so they have a little bit of the green like around here. So we're just going to get basic spots of where it's at. So put some around here, some like around there. A little bit around over here. It seems some of these rocks are a little bit different. It's kind of weird how it's set up. So we can just throw a little bit around here. I'm looking at here, I guess the a little bit over here. As of right now, I'm just kind of making it up because looking at, like I said, looking at the artwork, it's not really the same. I think that's a good couple spots. So what we'll do is we'll get a brighter green. Really make sure this brush is not pure like paint sticking on it, and we'll kind of hit those areas a little bit. So the spot down here, I hit a little too much on there, so just take this, kind of pull it away, mess it up a little bit. Alright, so what's going to happen is I'll probably tone down those green areas a little bit now once we start dirtying it up and everything. So I'm going to pull off this masking now, and then we're going to try to start dirtying up everything on the base. Alright, so now it's time to just kind of bring out some whites on the outfit a little bit, kind of do some dry brushing. So if I do any kind of over something on there, just wipe it away. silly putty stuck here. So I'm just going to go through the whites, do this, any kind of little silly putty areas, pull those off, and just kind of keep going around here and do all the white stuff. Alright, so now that I did some dry brushing, we're going to start doing some like colors in there. So we got a little bit of brown mixed in with the white. Colors that are over here on my container still. And what we'll try to do is we'll try to add a little bit of this colors onto the hands, starting them up a little bit. Try not to go too crazy too fast and just slowly build it up. Kind of just looking at my hands and just rubbing it around too, just as you can see. Not licking the paint itself, just you can use water, but sometimes it's better just some saliva, kind of help it a bit. On the feet, definitely kind of dirty them up a little bit more. And add a little to this piece as well. Maybe a little bit on the chest piece. Alright. So now we're going to flip over the paper towel because it's got a lot of white on there. Nice fresh one. And we're going to start using some darker colors. So let's get a little bit of browns. Definitely go a little bit of the darker brown stuff underneath the feet. So I'm going to go around and do that a little bit, and then I think we're going to start getting into some pastel work. Okay, at this point, as you can see over here, I have a palette of women's makeup. It's basically the same thing as pastels. It all depends on which your preference. If you like using pastels and you want to grind them down, more power to you. I kind of got over that a long time ago when someone told me about women's makeup. So basically, just gonna go around and do some pastel work. Try to pop out some areas, darken up some stuff. And I'm just going to kind of go around and powder areas up, darker black areas, kind of get into these shoes, you know, kind of really get in there and darken them up, make them dirty. You got different kinds of browns and stuff, so you can just kind of throw those in there. You're definitely gonna have to seal it though. That's one thing about pastels or women's makeup. You gotta seal the stuff. So I'm just gonna kind of go around and really start dirtying all this stuff up and really kind of get in there and work it out. Try to stay away from any of the, like I said before, stay away from any stuff that's kind of pasty. You want to kind of get the dry stuff, and also stay away from like the pearlized and glitter ones and stuff like that. Even though if that's what you're going for, that's fine. But as you can just see, just keep going on there and just keep going, and you start dirtying it up, and you start getting a lot more variation and stuff. So I'm just gonna go around and just keep doing that. Alright, so sorry about the AC sound, getting a little bit hot out today. So as of right now, it's just a matter of keep adding colors and going through my stuff. So got a little bit of this brownish white stuff here, so going to see about adding this into the line work here. Kind of like washing it in a little bit. By doing this, you're wiping away some of the pastel, but then some of that pastel is kind of going in areas. Like I said, it's just a matter of really just dirtying it up. I mean, there's no really set way. I mean, if you really wanted to, too, you can actually wet up the pastels and use those to kind of fill in some of the areas, too. So you're going to see me do a lot of this now, to sort of kind of bring out some stuff. So that looks a little bit better, dirtier than the way that was looking. Kind of fills it in a little bit. And I'll probably go back in with more pastel work and just kind of keep going and going. Alright, So I'm just gonna go through and keep doing stuff like this now. Alright, so as I progress now, I'm just adding more dirty, I'm working out the skin tone stuff here now, the rips, as you can see. It's just a matter of grabbing some of the skin tone colors, going in there. So the good thing about having torn up and dirty and like a really ripped up, beat up character is you don't have to be super clean. You can have your hands a little bit dirty, these mistakes sort of help you out, and so on and so forth. So I have some of the original blue here, so we're going to mix this in with a little bit of the white, and what we'll do is we'll sort of start popping out the rips, kind of give that a little bit of a highlight. I mean, the rips really aren't there, it's really not that detailed, but a little bit of highlighting and a little bit of brush work kind of goes a long way. You know, you could kind of dirty it up a little bit so you can see it's kind of getting in there a little bit and making it pop. And I did a lot of that brown wash, and I kind of let it, you know, I kind of pushed it into the area, dirtying that up. So you can see it's kind of popping out a little bit more. So I'm just going to go around and do that. Probably do a little bit of, like, you know, maybe little tears and kind of pop it out on certain areas. You know, I don't know, we'll kind of see how things go. It's a little too watery though. You know, kind of just adding a little bit of dirtiness and stuff on shoulders and just kind of dirtying them up. So the idea is he's battled, he's beat up, he's dirty, he's stuck in rocks, and just kind of keep going with it. So let's do some of these highlights here and there on the blue, kind of do see how that turns out. Alright, so I put Andriod on there just to kind of see how things are looking, to see how the colors are. So I really like the way Vegeta is pretty much beat up. I still got to do the hair on him. Now I'm starting to debate on Andriod if I should actually dirty her up or not. It seems like it's kind of a cool, like, variation where she's kind of clean. Even though she's got the rips in her pants, and he's really beat up and dirty. So a lot of people told me in the stream and stuff that in this fight, she was so powerful that she didn't even get dirtied up at all, and he was beat up to all hell. At least that's what I was told. I don't know if that's true or not. So I'm thinking maybe, if anything, just dirty up her hand a little bit, maybe the other hand as well, just to kind of look like she at least was punching him and it's dirty. I don't really think I need to dirty up too much around there, but I'll see. For right now, what I want to do is I want to do just a little bit of washing of some browns over the green, just to kind of tone this down a little bit, just to kind of break it up a little bit more, because I think it's just a little too bright. So if you take some like brown and kind of throw it over that, and just kind of throw it in the area, just to kind of sort of like make it look like it's got some kind of something around it. I don't know, just kind of spitballing there. Don't like it just being as is, so just kind of going in with the brown paint around the area like that, and it kind of seems to help it up a little bit more, like there's some kind of mud there a little. So what I need to do is I need to do a lot of sealing though. So I got to take her off again, and I got to seal up the base a little bit more. I got to seal up Vegeta, because we did do some pastels on there, and those pastels are sort of still there. So I just got to kind of make sure that stuff is just sealed up pretty well. And then I think what's going to happen is the one lower foot on the back, which I don't want to twist her just now, I might put that in there, get that attached, because I got to get the other leg attached. And I got to kind of like shadow up the area like I did over in here. Otherwise it looks like it's too bright and clean. So I got to just do a little bit of that as well. So there's still a little bit more to go, but we're getting there. I'll do the hair. Hair is pretty simple. Just going to mask off the face and just kind of paint up the hair. And that's pretty much all I really need to do with that. And yeah, so this brown like wash over the green is sort of helping a little bit more. Dirtying up the area. Yeah. Alright, so we're going to do some sealing, then maybe what we'll do is after that I'll kind of dirty up the hand a bit and go from there. Alright, so I want to get this leg in here, this first leg in here first, because, okay, so if there's any other touch-ups I'm going to do, it's going to be after I get this first leg in here. So this leg goes over here like this. Alright, so if I go any further on this, I want to get this leg in here, because if I get this leg in here now, it lines up where this is kind of also hitting the ground, and I can actually get in here and do some shadowing and stuff and kind of blend this together. And then if I need to do any touch-ups, the leg is already here. And then after this leg is secured tomorrow, I can attach this leg and get it going. But before I go any further, I want to actually have rubber pads for the bottom of this. So this is that rubber, well, it's not rubber, it's, what is it, I forget what it's called. It's like a foam sticky pad. You get them at like hobby stores. So what I'm doing is I'm just going around the piece now, just kind of drawing my line work around here. And what I'll do is I'm going to cut out the pad and cut out a little bit of the center, so this way I could kind of, you know, sign it, make sure it's durable for the, you know, shelving and stuff, because you know, any of these statues you paint up, if you don't put kind of rubber pads on them and you put it on the shelf, some of the paint could either stick to it, you can scratch up your shelf, and so on. So we're going to do a little something. And then what I'll do is I'll put a little tiny black pad at the bottom of this foot as well, so this way this foot isn't scraping anything as well. So there'll be a little tiny pad here, and there'll be this pad underneath over in here. So just got to go around here, and then once I'm done with that, we'll cut it out. Okay, so I mixed up some A's. I had my metal rod to get into this part over in here that I drilled a longer hole. So this way there's a metal rod touching each other. I want to put a bunch of A's there, a bunch of A's there, kind of go with some glue. And I'm going to do it over here on the side that the desk is a little bit flatter and even, so to make sure that this foot is nice and even set up. So I'm going to do this off camera real quick because I want to make sure everything's lined up and I can't get the camera over there. But it's very straightforward.
Just make sure you have Magic Sculpt, Aves, whatever you got, get it in there. Make sure you get it into this piece so they lock up pretty well, and a bunch of glue. Something this heavy and this piece here, just throwing glue in there and doing it, I feel that it would just probably snap off at the wrong turn down the line. But I think if you put enough Aves in there and metal rods and stuff, it could really hold a lot better. So that's kind of what I'm going for. So I'm just going to do that real quick, and then hopefully by tomorrow we could come back, see about finishing all this up with the other leg, and then however I want to do any final details.
Alright guys, so this is where we're going to close out the series. I pretty much am happy with where it's at. I did finish up a few things. For Vegeta's head, all I did was spray it down with some Spaztec gloss black, and then what I did is I flattened it down with Vallejo matte varnish. So it's got a little bit of a sheen to it, but it's nothing too crazy. The reason why I use the Spaztec is, you know, you have to pop this in and out with your hand, so the Spaztec stuff is probably a little bit more durable. Went ahead and attached the legs. Basically we did this one first. There was a gap over in here, so what I did is after I kind of attached that one night, later on the next day what I did is I patched up this area. I hit it with some paint and matched that up. A little bit of a dark spray around the legs. And then the next day what I did is over on this leg, there was no rod here for this one. So what I did is I kind of drummeled out and had a lot of hollowness up around here. And there was a lot of hollow area around here, but there was all these like X's in the resin. So when I put a bunch of the Aves in there and I kind of used some glue, that leg is pretty much in there and it's durable. Now there is some rubber pads underneath the feet and everything, so this won't scratch up any of the you know, shelving or anything like that, so that's a good sign. Now, with that being said, I really do like the statue a lot. It was a lot of fun to paint up. I really like the idea that a lot of guys out there are taking these anime characters and are giving a little bit more of a realistic feel. So this feels more like a superhero version, kind of which I'm into. I'm not saying that anime looks and anime statues aren't like good. It's just that I'm not really into them too much. I like watching animes, but as far as having them on my shelf, not really. Maybe just like Naruto stuff, but other than that, I'm not really into Dragon Ball. But this one was just a hell of a lot of fun to paint. So I did glue in the hair. Just pretty much used my glue and Instaset. Got that set up. I glossed up the lips. A little bit of gloss in the eyes. Went over it one more time. I am not going to dirty her up because after a lot of thought about, you know, everyone telling me that this fight, she really didn't have any battle damage. She was pretty much really powerful. He was beat up pretty bad, so I'm just going to keep the ripped clothes, and I think that's good enough for, you know, making it my version. But went over it, made sure everything was looking good. I'm happy with the color of the leather boots against the base, so that kind of makes them separated. We can see all the dirtiness into Vegeta. So the outfit's a lot of dirty, it's a lot of marks, you know, he's beat up pretty bad. And I think it works pretty well. So this was a lot of fun. Let's kind of give a nice 360 of her. She's got a really nice booty on her too. Really great sculpt. So as far as all parts on her, she comes out of the base. His head, his two arms come out, and her two arms come out. Now the only downside about her arms is because they're such a tight fit, if you do pop out the arms, there's a little bit of marks around here, but the thing is once they're in there, they're hidden. So that's fine because, I mean, I would like to have the arms attached, but I think by having them removable is better in the long run. In case you break fingers, in case something happens, you can pop them out, clean them up, and you can put them back in. So that's kind of a good thing. But other than that, she's pretty much done. So hopefully you guys like the work in progress series. I enjoyed working on her. It was a ton of fun. I'd like to thank all the Patreons for voting to do the work in progress series so they can see it whenever they have a chance to watch them on YouTube. She will be up for grabs. Patreons get first dibs. If none of the Patreons are interested, what it'll do is it'll go up on my website, or I might put it on eBay. Stuff like this is kind of, you know, pretty much thank you to Patreons. They'll get a discount and stuff too. That's kind of like how I'm planning on going forward with stuff like this. But if they're not interested, it'll go up on my site for like a regular price. And then this stuff is going to help fund maybe better camera equipment, other tools, and probably future projects as well to do videos on for Patreon. So
Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching. Had a ton of fun. Thank you all Patrons. I appreciate all the support. And you guys have a good one. And we'll be back with some more Patreon supported videos.